But there's also another side to this meme where it's almost like, and I might catch flack for that, but I gotta keep it real. There's almost like in the indie scene, sometimes there's like this sense of entitlement. There can be this kind of sense of entitlement. Like, let me paint a picture. So it's like if you come into the indie scene, right, you're going to make a conscious decision to take the bull by the horns, and you are going to self-publish your first novel, or you're going to self-publish your work. You say, screw traditional publishing, I'm going indie. Hey, more power to you as far as that goes. And I definitely respect anybody who's willing to do so, willing to take the time and see their own project all the way through to the end. That says something about people, and that means something for sure. The type of individual that's willing to do that. But I think sometimes what people fail to understand is just how vast the independent scene is. You ain't the first person to do it, in other words. There are many people out here doing the same damn thing in terms of seeing projects all the way through to the end and doing it on a level that is kind of neck and neck with the mainstream in terms of production quality and value. Now, that's not to say to discourage you, but that's why I say it should still, there's room for everybody to get involved, because the indie scene is a community-based activity. So the bottom line here is, when you're sharing a meme like this, if you're thinking about sharing a meme like this, I think the first question you should ask yourself is, why should people care? I think that's the big part that, might get overlooked when someone is sharing a meme like this, because for one, people aren't stupid. They know how to use social media. It's not difficult. It's very easy to retweet stuff. It's very easy to share links. It's very easy to post about, people's work and stuff like that. It's very easy. But the question is, why should they care? Who are you? You know what I mean? Who are you? And I don't mean that in an elitist sense. And I say that, like, if you think all you have to do is write a great novel, and you may have a great novel, you may be, you may compare yourself. You might be that guy who compares himself to Tolkien. You might be the person who compares himself to George R.R. Martin. You might be that guy. Okay. And maybe your work stands up. Maybe your work speaks for itself in that regard. But I have to tell you, if you're going the indie route and you think all you have to do is just write that great novel, and then you're going to be able to just click publish, and then from that point on, all you have to do is just sit back, relax, and rest upon your laurels, and people are just going to come out of the woodwork and discover your greatness. I got news for you. Don't hold your breath. You know what I mean? Do not hold your breath as far as that goes. That's not how the indie scene works. There's more. You're just getting started. Welcome to the show. As far as that goes, you've accomplished something great. I will give you that much. Great in the sense that you've proven to the world that you're not someone who just writes checks their ass can't cash. No, you set out on a goal to accomplish something, and you saw that goal all the way through to the end. And for that, I commend you. Okay. But that's just the beginning. That's just the beginning. All right. So to take it a step further, it may not be enough. And to take it a step further, it may not be enough to just make people aware that your novel exists, because literally, millions of novels exist out there. Okay. So now, again, like I say, this begs the question, why should people care? And as time goes on and I continue, I'm very much involved in the indie scene, and I continue to kind of do these live streams, and I'm reading a lot. I'm discovering a lot of different works. Okay. I've read a lot of freaking blurbs at this point. I've talked to various authors, and I've heard various different points of view and experiences. And when it comes to these novels, there are a lot of novels. Like, say, for instance, if you're into horror, well, there's different genres of horror. There's like subgenres of horror, and there's a whole horror community out there. It's like a subculture within the underground culture, if you will. And there's a lot of stuff out there that might be similar to each other, pretty much the same damn thing. So now you got to ask yourself, well, am I going to give this book a chance? Am I going to give this vampire book a chance? Or am I going to give this vampire book a chance? Am I going to give this werewolf, do I want to read this werewolf book or story? I was going to say werewolf erotica, but I don't know if that's a thing. That would be weird, but whatever. You know what I'm getting at. In other words, whatever suits your taste. Say, for instance, if you want to get involved in the indie scene, the point that I'm making here is that you are a fan, you're a customer coming into the indie scene, and you're like, well, my interest is Twilight. I like Twilight. I want to read books that are like Twilight. Okay. There are probably tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of kind of fanfic type of books or novels, if you will, that kind of like capture that Twilight-esque kind of narrative. Okay. Literally hundreds of thousands. So now the customer is in a point where it's like, okay, why should they care about your particular Twilight-esque book? And that's where the engagement comes into play. That's where the interactive part comes into play. That's where the accessibility comes into play. Because with social media nowadays, it's like, who's active on social media? Are you just going to pick some obscure novel that was published 10 years ago by an author that is no longer even involved in the scene? Like, they just disappeared, and their last social post was from, February 2012, and they're just gone and out. You know what I mean? You think about it from the reader standpoint, what's your incentive to read a novel like that? Take the time to reflect upon the material, take the time to think about it, kind of marinate upon your experience, and then write an extensive review on that particular piece of work that ultimately nobody else in the world really knows exists. You know what I mean? Or at least not since 2012. I'm just throwing out an arbitrary number here. So that's what I mean by like the indie scene. It's not your book itself. You may have written a great book, okay? But why should people care about your book? Why should people want to give your book a chance? All right? People know this stuff. And I feel like if people resonate with you, if people see that you are a real human being, maybe not necessarily you have to start a YouTube channel, you have to show your face online, but maybe you're just active in the scene in general. All authors are readers, but not all readers are authors in that regard. So maybe you do write reviews as well, or you at least do some social media posts where you are sharing some other people's books that maybe you have read in your spare time. You're not necessarily doing a review, but you're at least just saying, hey, I am involved in the scene and I'm willing to read indie books as well. Every now and then you do something like that, or you go on shows. You kind of donate your time, if you will, and you go on to people's podcasts and you support the culture, as it were, within the indie scene. You're active. I feel like that's the type of stuff that shows potential customers and readers that you actually care about the scene. You actually care about what's going on, and you're not just out here to just make a buck off of people. And you say, oh yeah, support the indies, guys. By the way, buy my book. Anyways, I'm going to go back and I'm going to go check out the new Disney release. And I'm going to spend all the rest of my free time literally just talking about what's in the mainstream. And that's it. That's all I'm going to do, guys. Oh, but by the way, I'm an indie author, and buy my book. Hey, you guys let me know. What do you think?